Alright, Shalom Hebrews, Shalom Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. In Hebrews, this is what I want to do this video on. It's kind of, I've been searching for a word that will best describe our enemy's line. It's got to be a mental condition after all these years. It's like, I calculated 2,740 years from the time that the Sephardims were placed in Samaria to the time that we, all the curses come, to pass, and everything is, kind of like been fulfilled to now. From 722 BC to now is like 2,740 years. And I was searching for a word that best describe our enemies, and the lying that they've been doing and how they just constantly lie, about Israelite history. And I want to show how these people telling the lie, because in the past, the people didn't have no reason to lie. And when they, drew images or did sculptures and images, man, that was basically what it was, and that's how the people look. But if you look up the meaning, man, of the pathological lying is what I call it. The convulsive urge to lie about matters big and small, regardless of the situation. And that's what the historians of the world done fell into that category. They done fell into that category because they been lying about the Israelite history. And that's like I say, that's where the people in power today, this where they get their power from. And the people that's in power today, everybody know that the Ashkenazi Jews and the Sephardi Jews run the whole banking system single-handedly for the Western Hemisphere, or what's called Western civilization. Their money is even dominant. The dollar. They created it. But this is what I want to show, is how that these people are some pathological liars, for the simple fact that, if you look up, the word Hebrew, and then they try to, get a meaning of Hebrew, and then they try to tie the Hebrews into the Canaanites and so forth. And man, that's lying, and that's wrong. And the whole world been accepting this lie and just moving on with it. It's a trip how ain't nobody challenged the Jews. Guess why come ain't nobody challenged the Jews about this false history that they been portraying to the world? It's the simple fact is the people that look like the Jews been benefiting off the lies. You see what I'm saying? See, the Jews got a Caucasian look, a non-pigmented look. And the rest of the people who's in power got a non-pigmented look. And then when those Jews tried to make it seem like that they are the Creator's chosen children, or chosen people that, could trace their, lineage all the way back to Adam, they try to make you think that, Adam was a Caucasian looking person, or a person with Tazarach. That's like these images right here. Man, that junk is bizarre and it's crazy. What went wrong? How did the Hebrews end up looking like this? How did the Hebrews end up looking like this? And these are pictures from their synagogues, from their synagogues back in the days, when they was drawing images, but they try to, say that these folks are the Hebrews. And I can show you in history where that's false and where they false with that junk, and how they been lying and pulling the fast one. That's why I say that, these people are pathological liars. They're pathological liars, and it's got to be a mental disorder handed down, and only exclusive with those people, the people that's been perpetrating, this lie about the Hebrews and who the Hebrews are. You know, look at this, man. This junk is bizarre. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. And it's found in their synagogues in Italy and Dur Urbis. It's the name of that synagogue. But check this out, Hebrews. Something had to go wrong. Something had to go terribly wrong. Something had to go terribly wrong with the Israelite history in order for the Hebrews to look like, these people. To look like them. You know, and I can show you that, these images are not the real Israelites. And I can explain how these people got like that and where they come from and everything. So, just sit back and listen to me. And I'm going to explain what's going on. Okay, we know that back in the days, during the Assyrian times, the Syrians was real big on, you know, sculptures and images and so forth. And they had artists and sculptors that was out of this world, some of the best in the world, to where when they carved images and did relics of the peoples and scenes that, they was kind of like on the Egyptian level, how the Egyptians, with the hieroglyphs, covered, they whole history, with images and everything, and how you could follow it and read it and understand it. Well, the Assyrians did the same thing. The Assyrians did the same thing. And look at these images right here. They don't look like no white folks. They don't look like no non-pigmented people. That's like I just recently did a video, showing how DNA is a con game, because the images in the past don't reflect the DNA images in the people of today. Something went wrong. And what went wrong is that the Hebrews abandoned their heritage. We abandoned our heritage and went off into Africa, and the people who was in our land looked it like those people. Looked it like these people right here. The people that we abandon our heritage to. The Hittites, the Amorites, the Edomites. Edom would even get messed up and lose his pigmentation because Edom went into those Hittites, and then that grieved our father and mother, Isaac and Rebekah, that Edom went into, those Hittites, and I got videos showing how those Hittites and those people come from underground, and how that they are Cain descendants, and how they don't got no pigmentation. But check this out. These images has been passed off as the real images of the Israelites. And that's wrong, and that's false. And the people who've been passing these images off are pathological liars. They've been breeding families of pathological liars, whole dynasties of liars. And that line basically go back to the scribes that was placed in our land during Assyrian times. Now this is the trip part, because during the Assyrian times, the Assyrians copied the real images of the real Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? And they had all kind of, they got this black obelisk is what they call it. And man, they got the images of, some kings that the Assyrians had captured. You know what I'm saying? Now look at these images. These are images of some black folks. Somebody with pigmentation. You can see that short nappy hair right there. You can see that short nappy hair and stuff right there. And these are the true images of the Hebrews that the Assyrians would, carve out and sculpture out. These are the real images of the Hebrews. Something went wrong. Something went wrong in the Hebrews' history in order for them, to look like that. Something went terribly wrong. And what went wrong is that we Hebrews, we abandoned our heritage, our whole history, to some Babylonian scribes. To some Babylonian scribes that's responsible for the whole Western civilization. And then when we did that, during the Babylonian wars, we also was chased out the land by Ashkenazi. Now, Ashkenazi would look like these folks right here. You know, Ashkenazi would look like them folks right there. And then this would be the Ashkenazi right here chasing us, you know, off the promised land into Africa. Now, these people right here, them people right there, look just like those people right there. And guess what? They was in synagogues right there. And then guess where the synagogues come from? The synagogues come from the Greek Roman era, when the Scythians had settled in the Discopolis cities. That's gonna be Galilee. They gonna settle in Galilee and in the Discopolis cities. And then when they settled there, because they wasn't the Israelites, the Sephardites, the Amorites, who we abandoned our heritage to, didn't let them come to the temple and kick it. So, you know, Ashkenazi, you know, had to create them some places of worship. And that's what they did with the synagogues. And they had a bunch of synagogues. I'm talking about hundreds of them. You know, they had like 380 synagogues wrapped around Herod's Edomite temple. And then this would, you know, they would, you know, be it in the Discopolis cities. You know, the Discopolis, that's where Ashkenazi settled at under the name Scythian. You know, if you go look in history, you will see that Ashkenazi and the Scythians are the same people. And Ashkenazi settled in the Discopolis cities and in Galilee. And they will make up the whole New Testament people. So it makes sense why them people would look like this and be claiming the Israelite history and be claiming the Israelite heritage, is because Ashkenazi settled in the Discopolis cities. You know, they settled in the Discopolis cities, and they settled in Scythopolis. Scythopolis was the head capital for the Discopolis cities, and they settled there after the Babylonian Wars. You know, they gonna be the people that, you know, chased us into Africa, you know, during the Babylonian Wars. You know, and like I say, I got videos showing how, you know, the arrowheads are still being found today from that time. The arrowheads that was exclusively, you know, the Scythians had, you know. And then I also showed, you know, the places where they found those arrowheads. Now, Ashkenazi would chase us into Africa during the Babylonian Wars, you know, and I'm going to go into that history in a minute. But you see, Scythian arrowheads shoot Jerusalem up. Scythian trilobite arrowheads, this is during the Babylonian Wars. The Scythians made up the Chaldean army. They would destroy Assyria. Soon as Assyria did their little job on us and they little party on us that they pulled, then the Scythians would come and destroy Assyria. You know, the Scythians ain't nothing but Ashkenazi, and the prophet Hubak called Ashkenazi to come get us, you know. But before then, the prophet Num tell you that, you know, Ashkenazi, the Scythians, would destroy Assyria, and that came to pass Nineveh. So, you know, man, it's something big going on in the world. If, you know, these folks done accepted this lie, you know, it's a big lie. And what's big is that these folks are pathological liars. They are pathological liars, and you can't believe nothing they say when it concerns Israelite history. You know, you can't believe nothing they say when it concerns Israelite history, because we already know that in the past, you know, that the Israelites looked like this, you know. Them some Hebrew captives, alright. Them some Hebrews being impaled on some poles. You know, they don't even look like no non-pigmented people. And then there go some Hebrews being filleted, you know, they skin cut off of them. You know, those folks did us terrible in the past, just about like how we being done now. you know, coming from slavery and how them folks just constantly beat us, you know. So that's what them people would look like on them images that I showed. They would, you know, them hairstyles, and they would look just like them folks, minus the glasses and so forth. Okay, you know, it's a trip how our enemies been lying all these years, passing lies off, and the world just been accepting them, and the truth being right before their eyes, and they ain't want to accept it. It's a shame. But look here, this is how, you know, everything got the way that it got is because we Hebrews couldn't stop doing the Egyptian religion. You know, we couldn't stop doing the Egyptian religion. You know, we did the Egyptian religion all the way up to the time that we was driven out the land. And us doing the Egyptian religion would cause King Josiah to get killed. You know, because, you know, the Egyptians, you know, had to do trade on the other side of the promised land. And King Josiah had cleaned the Egyptian worship up. And then the Egyptians would kill him. And then the Babylonians would come. And then they would chase us off the land. And then it would be a 1% that was captured and taken to Babylon. And that 1% was destroyed when they come back home from Babylon, when they was released by the Persians. In 538 BC, that'll be the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi be the last book. You know, them Hebrews was sin real bad, you know, start mixing with the enemies that was in the land, and that would cause the Greeks to come in and destroy the Persians who protected, you know, the Hebrews, and you know that would cause the exiles to vanish. You know, they vanished so fast they hardly left a trace in history. But I cover their history in a lot of the videos. You know, I cover their history in a lot of videos. But history been, you know, been lied upon about the Israelite, you know, heritage, and then that's why come, you know, I think that it's a medical disorder with them people, because they got to know that they lying. It's impossible for them to not know that they've been lying on the Israelite heritage when you got images in the past that was before the images, you know, that they, you know, try to pass off now. And that if these Hebrews didn't look like the images now today in the past, then something went wrong. And what went wrong is that real Israelite history has not been recorded. It's not been recorded up to now. And we Hebrews basically got to do our own history. You know, we got to do our own history, and we got to do our own history free of those Jewish myths, you know, and that's where the Israelite brotherhood come in, like I'm showing you now, you know, how, you know, them images, these images been passed off as Israelite images. And that's wrong, that's crazy. And that happened during the time that the exiles got destroyed with the enemies that we abandoned our heritage to in 722 BC, that was, you know, looking like them folks, and they would still be in the land. And then during the after the Persians, you know, was kind of like losing their control, about 9 other nations was set in the promised land. About 9 other nations was set in the promised land, and they all would be non-pigmented people too. You know, they wouldn't have no pigmentation. And if you go to let me show this. You know, man, this is awful. All right, you see these right there. Then wrote Rahum the chancellor, and Shimei the scribe, and the rest of their companions, the Danites, the Arphishaphites, the Tarpelites, the Arsaphites, the Archivites, the Babylonians, the Shushanites, the Devites, and the Elamites. You know, all them people was placed in our land, and they wouldn't have no pigmentation. And then these people right here would be placed in our land, and they wouldn't have no pigmentation either. And then they was placed in our land in 722 BC. And also, we didn't drive the Canaanite tribes out. You see what I'm saying? We didn't drive the Canaanite tribes all the way out when we come out of the promised land. And we already knew that Tazarat, what some mistaken as leprosy, was in the land and was on them people in Canaan when we come out of Egypt. But here goes some more non-pigmented people being placed in the promised land in 722 BC. And these will be the Sepharvims, the Sephardis. They are the original Semitic people because they mix with everybody. The Hittites, the Edomites, the Moabites. You know, they took over the Moabites and the Ammonites. You know, and these Sepharvims will be Amorites from Babylon. And all these people with them wouldn't have no pigmentation, and they were all settled in the promised land. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cuddar and from Abel and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt therein. Okay, during the Babylonian wars, which come about 134 years after them people was placed in our land from 722 BC, the Sepharvims, we would go into Africa. We would be chased off the promised land. We would be chased off the promised land into Africa for saying that we was going into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. You know, and that's what the whole book of Jeremiah is about. You know, we wouldn't stop doing the Egyptian religion. We wouldn't stop doing the Egyptian religion. See, from the time of Jeroboam, that's like I got videos showing how Solomon was real wicked. And Solomon basically is why we lost our heritage, because it was Solomon that opened the door for our enemies to get in. You know, we had already messed up in Joshua days when we made them people slaves to the temple and the priests, and then they would be called Nethinims. You know, them folks that tricked us when we was coming into the promised land. You know, the Zebonites and you know what I'm saying, them the Gibeonites and those folks, you know, and a few other those tribes. You know, we would enslave them and make them hewers, carriers of wood and water to the temple. But them people would learn our heritage, and they would be there, and they would be the Nethinims. The Nethinims, you know, all those people, you know, that we didn't destroy, eventually got our heritage when we ran into Africa, being chased off the promised land because we wouldn't stop the Egyptian religion. And that's like I say, Solomon was real wicked, because Solomon opened the door for us to lose our heritage, because Solomon fooled with all those women and stuff from the other nations, and even had a son, Rehoboam, by the Ammonite woman. And the Amorites wasn't, the Ammonites wasn't supposed to come into the temple even in their 10th and 11th generation. But here's Solomon and had a son by one of them. You know, even though, you know, he the male and, you know, the lineage come through him. But Solomon was wicked, and he brung us down. And Solomon chased it Jeroboam, who was from the tribe of Ephraim, into Africa, into Egypt. You know, chased him into Egypt and chased him to his relatives, because I show that the tribe of Ephraim were mixed with the Egyptians from Anaseth. That's going to be Joseph's woman that Pharaoh gave to Joseph after Pharaoh peeped that we was Hebrews and we was going to be blocking his way with a whole different worship, that Pharaoh was slick and gave Joseph Asenath. And that's the priest of On daughter, the priest from Heliopolis. And then from that union, you get Manasseh and Ephraim. Well, Ephraim gonna be the youngest, and Ephraim evidently was influenced by his, you know, people on his mama's side, because, you know, the tribe of Ephraim is where the Egyptian worship come from, from when we left Egypt. Yeah, it's a mixed multitude of Egyptians left with us, and that will cause us trouble. This is gonna be Ephraim's them relative, because the lower Egyptians we was kin to from Joseph mixing, with the Egyptians and having two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And, they was from Lower Egypt. And then the upper Egyptians gonna be that Nubian, Ethiopian, Sudan stock. And they would take over. And man, they would enslave us, But before then, Joseph was given Asenath. And Asenath, was the priest of On daughter. So, they're going to have some big influence on, his grandkids, Manasseh and Ephraim. And then, from there, I could show you that the tribe of Ephraim through Jeroboam, when he was chased into Egypt, he stayed there about 20-something years till Solomon passed away. And then when he come out, he put the golden calves on us, on the whole northern kingdom. And we would stay on it for 300 years till King Josiah was born, from 931 BC to around about, 632 BC or 33, when King Josiah started to clean the Egyptian worship up. And then he would clean it up and we would be off Egyptian religion for 30 years, 31 years. And Prophet Jeremiah was around during that time. And then the Egyptians would come out and kill King Josiah and put us back on the Egyptian religion. And then the Babylonians would come because we couldn't do Egyptian religion on the promised land. And then we would, get chased in the out. Let me see if I could show all this in biblical history. I got it all in the other videos. Ain't no question that all this information is in the other videos. But let me show you during Exodus how, we had messed up, by letting them folks lead with us. And then when them folks left with us, man, they would, corrupt us, All right, the mixed multitude. And a mixed multitude went up with them and flocks and herds and very much cattle. That's going to be them cattle worshipers. And then, when Moses go up and get the law, prophet Moses go up and get the law, then them folks gonna say, hey man, let's make us some, we don't know what happened to Moses, the guy that brought us up out of Egypt, man, make us some gods. And then, they will make the golden calves. And man, that got our mouth tore out, And when the people, this is Exodus 32, and when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, up, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of Egypt, we know not what become of him. So they make the golden calves. But look, before then, you can see the Egyptian connection. You can see the Egyptian connection because Joseph, was given, an Egyptian. And they would leave upon us. I show you where that mixed multitude took on down. Look. And Pharaoh called Joseph named Zephaniah Peniel and gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. And Joseph went out all over the land of Egypt. And then look, and unto Joseph were born two sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the first Manasseh, for Yah, he had made me to forget my toil and all my father's house. Right. In the name of the second called he Ephraim, for Yah had caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. So we know, Ephraim, if you look at First Kings, you'll see, that Ephraim, Jeroboam was from the tribe of Ephraim. He gonna be from the tribe of Ephraim, and Solomon gonna chase him into his family members' hand. That's gonna be Shawshank. Look, and this is First Kings 11:26. And Jeroboam the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zerudah, Solomon's servant, whose mother name was Zurah, a widow, even he lifted up his hand against the king, And Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shawshank, you know what I'm saying, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt unto the death of Shawshank. All right, and then he would come out and put them golden calves on us, Jeroboam did. And then there was a prophet, come out of come out of Judah, and behold, there come a man of Yah out of Judah by the word of the Elohim unto Bethel. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense, and he cried against the altar in the word of the Elohim, and said, Altar, 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 this saith the Elohim, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David by the name, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And that come to pass. And that come to pass right there. You see? And that come to pass. And then that prophecy about King Josiah cleaning up Jeroboam religion, we will be on the Egyptian religion for 300 some years. 300 years, and then King Josiah would be born, and he would get rid of the Egyptian religion. And then I also want to state that there was no 10 lost tribes, and that all the tribes was at home after the Assyrian captivity, but the Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, the fighters who the Assyrians took, and that's why I say that our enemies are pathological liars, because they know that history didn't go down the way that they've been writing it and telling it, with the 10 lost tribes selling all around the world. Got the folks up in Europe and England thinking that they some Israelites. They say during the Assyrian times that the Assyrians took 10 tribes and that they went down in a water hole and end up all over the world. That mess crazy. Those people are pathological liars. They're pathological liars, man. And they've been lying on the Israelite history for a long time. And it's basically where white supremacy come from. Because like I say, if them people done lied throughout history and got everybody thinking that the Israelites look like this, when in history they looked it like this. You see what I'm saying? They looked it like this in history. They looked it like this in history. Those are the real images of the Hebrews. Those are the real images of the Israelites. So something went wrong. And what went wrong is that we Hebrews was chased off the land like the Creator said he was going to do. Almighty Yah said he was going to chase us up off the land if we got in that land and start doing the abominations of the people that we were supposed to drive out. And we didn't do it. So we was eventually driven out. And we was driven out, all of us. And then the remain that come back from Babylon was destroyed real fast. And then the people who we abandoned our heritage to, those folks, start claiming our history. And then, by the time the Greeks get settled in, and then the Romans settled in, and there's no more people looking like this. It's no more people looking like this around. Then everybody gonna think that the people like this are the real Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna show you that the people looked at like this say that they was going into Africa to live. If you go to Jeremiah 43, the whole book of Jeremiah is good to read. But if you get to 43, really, man, it's kind of like before 43. We were so wicked and so evil and so low down how we was to the Creator that, man, it's a blessing that the Creator just didn't destroy us completely. I'm talking about wipe us off the face of the earth. And we kind of in a position where our enemies trying to do that to us now. But if it wasn't for the mercy and the grace of Almighty Yah, we couldn't have never found our way back to our heritage. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Look, you see what that say. You see what that say now. Alright. Yeah, so during the Babylonian times, we was driven off the land. And the people that had settled in our land looked at like this. Looked at like this. The peoples who settled in our land during the Babylonian wars and during the Syrian times looked at like that. Now, we some cool people. We ain't, you know what I'm saying? We ain't caring about, you know what I'm saying, this and that. We just want to party and kick it and be friends. And that's what we was sitting there to do. We was sitting there to destroy them people because they wickedness and they evilness. But we became part of their evilness. And we was driven off the land. And then when we was driven off the land, we couldn't even understand why we was being driven off the land. That's like I got videos showing how our sin was on the same level of Sodom and Gomorrah. It wasn't nobody righteous in the land, so we had to get kicked out. And not only did the Creator kick us out, He kicked our bones and everything about us out. And that's why come, only these pictures and images of us in these other nations that was preserved to this time exists. You see what I'm saying? Because all the images of the Hebrews that was in the promised land were destroyed, and they was destroyed by our enemies. They accidentally find these images of the Hebrews. They didn't mean to find these, and then they tuck them off in the room, and then they're real quiet about it because they know people gonna question, well, why the Hebrews look like that, and then they some kind of way end up looking like this. How in the world that happened? How in the world that happened? How in the world the Hebrews go from dark skin to white skin and no pigmentation in that little short of time? Well, what happened is that the real Hebrews, ran into Africa. All the tribes. If it was millions of us in the promised land, then 999 of us ran into Africa. And like I said, only that little 1% was taken to Babylon. And when they come back, they was just a small number. And then they only lived in Judea. They only lived in the southern kingdom, close to Jerusalem. And they got knocked off so fast, they had to mortgage their lands and everything. Ezra and Nehemiah, I'll tell you about their history. But during the Babylonian wars, when we was chased into Africa, we would leave our heritage to the people looking like that. Our heritage that we got from the Creator was like 800 years old, from 1446 to the time we ran out. It was about like 800 years, and it was a young culture and covenant that we had that didn't get a chance to grow because we kept fooling with the Egyptian, the Amorite culture and everything. That's like now, we Hebrews, we so Americanized and we love this country in our captivity. Some of the Hebrews love this captivity and they so immersed in this European system and they have a European mindset. They almost like these folks right here, besides that they just got black skin. We got a bunch of them running around. Well, they time is finna be up soon because we finna get about being what we supposed to be about. Alright, check this out. The book of Jeremiah. We was chased out the land and we was, on our way into Africa, and the prophet Jeremiah had caught up to us. This is during the Babylonian wars, about 588 BC. All the tribes, we had took off. And then the captain of the forces, Johan, and Ker, and Jezaniah, the son of Hosea, and all the people from the least even unto the greatest came near and said unto Jeremiah the prophet, let we beseech thee our supplications. Our supplications be accepted before thee, and pray for us unto the Elohim thy Yah, even for all this remain, for we are left but a few of many, as then eyes do behold, that the Elohim thy Yah may show us the way wherein we may walk in the things that we may do. Guess what we did? We was playing with the Creator. We was playing with the Creator when the Babylonians came and then chased us up off the promised land, and then Prophet Jeremiah caught up with us. We played with the Creator before we went into Africa, and we would eventually be enslaved from Africa. We told the Prophet Jeremiah to go to the Creator and ask him what we should do, and whatever he say do, we gonna do it, because we all messed up. And then, the prophet Jeremiah went and did, and then come back and then told us that the Creator say sit down and go back to the promised land, and he gonna make everything all right, and that the Babylonians ain't gonna just knock us off. And then we said the Creator didn't say that, Jeremiah, and that you telling a lie, and that the Creator didn't say not to go into Africa, Egypt. And man, we went on, and here we is now today in bondage. All right. Then Jeremiah the prophet said unto them, I have heard you. Behold, I will pray unto the Elohim your Yah according to your words. And it shall come to pass that whatsoever thing the Elohim shall answer you, I will declare it unto you, and I will keep nothing back from you. Then they said unto Jeremiah, the Elohim be a true and faithful witness between us if we do not according to all the things for that which the Elohim thy Yah send to thee to us, whether it be good or whether it be evil, we will obey the voice of the Elohim our Yah, to whom we send thee, that it may be well with us when we obey the voice of the Elohim our Yah. And it come to pass after 10 days that the word of the Elohim came unto Jeremiah. Then called he Johan the son of Kir, and all the captains of the forces which were with him, and all the people from the least even unto the greatest. Check this out. Let me show y'all how it was everybody. If you go to 2 Kings 25, 26, this is everybody. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldees. So that's everybody right there. And that's this act right here, what I'm reading in Jeremiah just before we all get into Egypt. He had called us. We was at the door. We was in there. You know what I'm saying? We had left the promised land. We had forsaken the covenant that Moses gave us. And we said we was going into Africa to worship some Egyptian religion. So that's why come the Hebrew images don't look like that. Because all the images of the Hebrews was cleaned out the land. And our enemies did it. And the Creator told them to do it. So the people would look like this. Our enemies, who's been portraying to be us, passing them lies off. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let me see. Then Johan the son of Kir, and all the captains of the forces which were with him, and all the people from the least even unto the greatest, said unto them, This saith the Elohim the Yah of Israel, unto whom ye sent me to present your supplications before him. If ye will abide in the land, then I will build you up and not pull you down, and I will plant you and not pluck you up, for I repent of me the evil that I have done unto you. You know what I'm saying? They go on and on and on. You know what I'm saying? But the Creator told us if we go into Egypt to worship their gods, it's over. You know what I'm saying? And then as you read, you know what I'm saying, this is what we said. And it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking unto all the people, all the words of the Elohim their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words, then spake Azariah the son of Hosea, and Johan the son of Kir, and all the proud men, saying unto Jeremiah, Thou speakest falsely. The Elohim our Yah hath not sent thee to say, Go not into Egypt to sojourn there. But Baruch the son of Ner setteth thee on edge, for to deliver us into the hand of the Chaldeans, that they might put us to death and carry us captive unto Babylon. That's going to be these people, them people right there, but this is their descendants. These people right here. When we said that, we was talking about them, and them people put you on their horses, after they done killed you, there take your body parts and put them on their horses and ride around with them. Well, we told the prophet Jeremiah that the Creator didn't say not to go into Egypt to live, and that we was going into Egypt to live. And then this was what we said to seal our faith. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense, this is Jeremiah 44:15. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the words thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have been consumed by the sword and by famine. So we see it because we wasn't in Africa doing the Egyptian religion. It's the reason why the Babylonians was coming and chasing us up off the land. So when we all went into Africa, because I showed that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. I got plenty of videos. And ain't got to go into that history because I got so many videos talking about no 10 lost tribes, showing that all the tribes were there during Hezekiah time, and then during King Josiah time. And then how we will be chased into Africa, the 99%, and how we would leave our heritage to these peoples looking like that. You know what I'm saying? And then they would even get even more looking like that when the Greeks and the Romans show up. But then they don't look like that, you see, and that's how they should have been looking. But they don't look like that because these people here are not the real Hebrews. Those are not the real Hebrews. Those are the people that settled in our land after we was chased into Africa. And that's why before that happened, the Assyrians had the real images of the Hebrews. You see what I'm saying? The Assyrians had the real images of the Hebrews. And them Hebrews don't look nothing like that. You see what I'm saying? So them folks been popping the Kun game, and not a Kun game, but they are pathological lying. A pathological lying, the compulsive urge to lie about matters big and small, regardless of the situation. And that's what them preachers be doing in them churches when they be talking about the Hebrews and Jesus and all that old stuff, and they be telling pure lies, and that they ain't gonna ever tell the truth. And that's pathological lying. And that's what our enemies are. They been calling us liars and stuff. They the real liars. You see what I'm saying? When they say we be lying, talking about that we the Hebrews and we the Israelites, they the lie. They are pathological liars. That's why they can't see no truth, because all they know is to tell lies. And they been telling lies because we know that them folks right there are not the Hebrews, and that these folks right there is what the real Hebrews look like. And let me show you. When you go to Jeremiah 8, you're going to see that it says this. This is why the Hebrews, all the images had to be found in Assyria and in them parts about us and not in the promised land, is because this. At that time, said the Elohim, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, and the bones of the princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves, and they shall spread them before the sun and the moon, and in the host of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. They shall not be gathered, nor be buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth. So, I show you that the last part, but when the exiles come back from Babylon, that they had to live in Judah inheritance, and that we Israelites during the Assyrian troubles were all driven into Judah. You see what I'm saying? So, King Hezekiah enlarged the water system, and then, from us all being driven into Judah, Then the Babylonians would come and chase us all into Africa. And then that's why come, our enemies looking like this, talking about that they the Israelites, knowing that they some pathological liars. All right, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Our enemies can't continue to lie, and then they lie keep going on if we show them correct history. You see what I'm saying? We have to show correct history, and then our enemies gonna submit for long because they know that they've been lying. They some pathological liars. Shalom, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. We know that, how these folks, end up looking like this, talking about they some Hebrews, and that here's the real images of the Israelites. Shalom.